Okay, we'll get started. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramhamsa Parivrajakaacharya Ashtottara Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrind Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We're continuing with a reading of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is Canto 3, Chapter 8. Please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chant this together. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Translation. Do you want to read the translation before we go? We can do it together. Can you go? Yeah, okay. Reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Naranarayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. On the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuron Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Eyes with the torchlight of knowledge, I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, we continue with chapter 8, titled Manifestation of Brahma from Vishnu. And we are on text 11 today. We're going to complete the chapter. and the text for focus today is text 17. So we'll start with the translations, and then when we get to 17, we'll do the Sanskrit. Somebody want to get us started with the...
Hare Krishna. Text 11. Just like the strength of fire within fuel would...
Sorry, text 10 today. I'm sorry. We have to start from text 10.
Text 10. At that time, when the three worlds were submerged in water, Garbhodaksha Vishnu was alone, lying on his bedstead, the great snake Ananta, and although he appeared to be in a slumber, in his own eternal potency, free from the action of external energy, his eyes were not completely closed.
Yeah. So does anybody remember what Vidura was asking Maitreya? This is the conversation that's happening between Vidura and Maitreya, right? So what started this topic? What was the question? Many questions actually. But yesterday we discussed what we were going to dive into today. Remember?
Creation.
Yeah. One of the questions that he asked was the creation of this material world. And this entire chapter is going to talk about how creation began in the very beginning. And here it's talking about Garbhodaka Shai Vishnu. Does anybody know who Garbhodaka Shai Vishnu is? Yes?
He's the Vishnu within every material universe, right?
Correct. So, Krishna has many expansions, and one such expansion of Krishna is called Karanodaka Shai Vishnu, or this Vishnu who is lying on the milk ocean, from whose pores multiple universes emanate. Unlimited numbers of universes emanate. And within each of this universe, Krishna again expands himself as Garbhodaka Shai Vishnu. This is Krishna who is lying in the Garbha ocean within each single universe. This is Garbhodaka Shai Vishnu. So we're getting started from how Vishnu is present within each universe as Garbhodaka Shai Vishnu. And on who is he lying? Yeah, this is Balram. We just discussed during Balram Purnima, right? Balram serves Krishna in so many different ways, and one such is he serves as the bed of Krishna. So as his expansion of Ananta, he serves as the bed. Okay, let's continue.
Just like the strength of fire within fuel wood, the Lord remained within the water of dissolution, submerging all the living entities in their subtle bodies. He lay in the self-invigorated energy called Kala.
Okay.
The Lord laid down for 1,000 cycles of 4 yugas in his internal potency, and by his external energy he appeared to be sleeping within the water. When the living entities were coming out for further development of their fruitive activities, actuated by the energy called Kala Shakti, he saw his transcendental body as bluish.
Prabhupada says this Kala Shakti that's described here is the potency by which all of us are forced to act for material gratification. Not forced. This is what enables us, because in our identities we are completely pure by nature, right? As spirit souls, we are not contaminated at all. But yet when we come into this material world, there is this contamination that takes place, and the main contamination, Prabhupada says in this purport, is ignorance. So there is this amazing Acharya of another tradition, Vaishnava tradition, called Sri Sampradaya. His name is called Shadakopan. So it is said that all of us, we'll learn about this in the 3rd canto, that when we are in the womb, we are completely in full knowledge. We are praying to Krishna, that Krishna, I'll completely surrender to you, I'll always serve you. But then, when we are born, we forget it, right? It is this Kala Shakti that enables that ignorance, or avidya. This Acharya is called Shadakopan because he didn't let this Kala Shakti affect him. He was so angry that he kicked at this Vayu called Shata. So, anyway, this is this ignorance which is the cause of everything. Rupa Goswami will say that in the Nectar of Devotion also. Every problem that we face in this world is due to ignorance, because we don't know what the right thing to do is, and from that perspective we start doing things that are not very good for us, and then we end up in messy situations. Okay, continue.
The subtle subject matter of creation on which the Lord's attention was fixed was agitated by the material mode of passion, and thus the subtle form of creation pierced through his abdomen.
piercing piercing through his sum total form of the fruitive activity of the living entities took the shape of the bud of a lotus flower generated from the personality of Vishnu. And by his supreme will, it illuminated everything like the sun and dried up the vast waters of devastation.
Yeah.
Into the universal lotus flower, Lord Vishnu personally entered as super soul, and when it was thus impregnated with all modes of material nature, the personality of Vedic wisdom, whom we call the self-born, was generated.
So we see another expansion, right? So Karanodakashayi expands as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, and after that, from his navel, lotus emerges, and then Krishna again expands himself as the super soul and enters into the lotus stem. Okay, continue.
Brahma, born out of the lotus flower, could not see the world, although he was situated in the wall. He therefore circumambulated all of space, and while moving his eyes in all directions, he achieved 4 heads in terms of the 4 directions.
Yeah. So now Brahma was born out of the lotus flower. That's why in the previous verse, if you looked at the Sanskrit, Brahma was called Swayambhuvam. Just like all of us are born from our mothers, Brahma was not born the same way. He was self-manifested, but manifested from the navel of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Therefore, when you talk about the different Mahajanas, Swayambhu, Narada, Shambhu, we say, right? That Swayambhu means Lord Brahma. He's one of the Mahajans. And Swayambhu is because self-manifest. He is not born like others. Okay? Let's see what Brahma does. This is text 17. This is our verse for today. We'll do the Sanskrit for this verse.
Lord Brahma situated in that lotus.
No. We're going to do the Sanskrit. Please repeat. Tasmad yuganta swashanavagurna jalormi chakrat shalilad virudham upashrita kanjamulokatattvam natmanamadva vidadhadi deva tasmad yuganta swashanavagurna jalormi chakrat shalilad virudham upashrita kanjamulokatattvam natmanamad adha vidadhadi deva. Somebody want to chant? Tasmad yuganta swashanavagurna jalomi chakrat shalilad virudham upashrita kanjamulokatattvam natmanamadha vidadhadi deva. Tasmad yuganta swashanavagurna jalormi chakrat shalilad virudham upashrita kanjamulokatattvam natmanamadha vidadhati deva. Tasmad yuganta swashana vagurna Jalormi chakrat shalilad virudham Upashrita kanjamulokatattvam Natmanamadha vidadhadi deva. Okay. Tasmad yuganta swashana vagurna Jalomi chakrat shalilad virudham Upashrita kanjamulokatattvam Natmanamadha vidadhadi deva. We'll do the word for word. Tasmat, from there. Yuga anta, at the end of the millennium. Shvasana, the air of devastation. Avagurna, because of movement. Jala, water. Urmi chakrat, out of the circle of waves. Salilat, from the water. Virudham, situated on them. Upashrita, having the shelter of. Kanjam, lotus flower. U, in astonishment. Lokatattvam, the mystery of creation. Na, not. Atmanam, himself. Adha, perfectly. Avidat, could understand. Adi Deva, the first demigod. Translation. Lord Brahma, situated in the lotus, in that lotus, could not perfectly understand the creation, the lotus or himself. At the end of the millennium, the air of devastation began to move the water and the lotus in great circular waves. Okay. Somebody wants to read the purport?
Lord Brahma was perplexed about his creation, the lotus and the world, even though he tried to understand them from 1 millennium, which is beyond calculation in the solar years of human beings. No one, therefore, can know the mystery of the creation and cosmic manifestations simply by mental speculation. The human being is so limited in his capacity that without the help of the Supreme, he can hardly understand the mystery of the will of the Lord in terms of creation, continuance, and destruction.
So we see that Brahma was on the top of the lotus flower and he had no idea where he was, and then he was trying to figure out where he was, what this lotus flower is, what am I doing, who am I? But yet, he was doing this for Yuga Anta, the Sanskrit says, basically at the end of the millennium. From the Bhagavad Gita, we can understand that the lifetime of Lord Brahma is huge. So we have time in the Vedic perspective. Time is not a linear thing, right? In our understanding, at least, time starts, it progresses, and then there is an end to the time. It's a very linear progression of time. But we understand that time doesn't really function that way. Time is really, if you look at it, cyclical. So the way the material universe functions is you have these time cycles called yugas. You know, does anybody know about what the yugas are? Yeah. So we have the entire time split into 4 yugas, right? Which have the Satya Yuga, we have the Treta Yuga, we have the Dwapara Yuga, and the time that we live in is called the Kali Yuga. And then after Kali Yuga, Satya Yuga starts again. And then this keeps continuing forever, on and on and on and on. So Satya Yuga is 4 times the duration of Kali Yuga, Treta Yuga is 3 times the duration of Kali Yuga, Dwapara Yuga is twice the duration of Kali Yuga, and Kali Yuga is 432,000 years. That's how long the period of Kali Yuga is. So you can do the math. And then once Kali Yuga is done, we start with Satya Yuga again. So like that, Lord Brahma, you can imagine 432,000 years multiplied by 10. That's what 4321, the proportion that we spoke about, which is 4,032,000 years, is one set of 4 cycles, right? And the day of Lord Brahma is 100 such 4 cycles. And the night of Lord Brahma is 100 such 4 cycles again. So this is one day of Lord Brahma, right? And then like that he has 30 days, 12 months and 100 years. So that's how long Lord Brahma's age is, and by our calculation it comes to about 3.1 trillion years or something like that. That's how long Lord Brahma lives. So from that perspective, understand that Brahma was trying to figure things out for a millennium or this yuga cycle. Still he couldn't find the answers to his questions. Okay, let's continue the translation. Let's see where he goes. Text 18.
Lord Brahma, in his ignorance, contemplated, "Who am I that am situated on top of this lotus? Wherefrom has it sprouted? There must be something downwards, and that from which the lotus has grown must be within the water."
Yeah. So, this is the first living entity of the material world. And you see this inquisitive nature is present even in Lord Brahma, right? But it is a very rare quality. How many of us in this world think, why am I here? What am I doing here? Why is this world created? How many of us think in those terms? How many of us have these questions even? Probably people in this room. We have 8 billion people in this world and 30 people in this room or something like that. It's a very, very tiny percentage of people who actually have this inquisitive nature. It's not a very easily findable thing. But this inquisitive nature is there within all of us. This is the point, that it is there within Brahma, it is there within us, it is there within the ant, but it is because of our consciousness that it's covered. This is ignorance, right? We are all covered by ignorance in different grades, and at some point there is this circumstance that brings us to ask this question. And in Brahma's circumstance is really precarious. This stem, we have seen this in the first canto, probably in the second canto also. You know how big this lotus stem is? When you read this, right, it just seems like you go to the lotus pond, there is the stem, you see this lotus on top of the wall. But for a human to stand at least, how big should a lotus be? It's not the lotus that we see in the pond, right? But this lotus that is being described in this chapter is a huge lotus. It's nothing like we can imagine, because within the stem of this lotus is all the 14 planetary systems. And these planetary systems are not the planetary systems that we're used to think about, right? If you think about the planetary system, what do you think of? Not the galaxy, that's even bigger, but at least the solar system, right? We have the sun around which all the planets revolve, and this is one planetary system we have, and then we know with our telescopes and so many things that there are several such planetary systems where there is a central star around which several planets revolve. And we know that there is something even bigger than that, a set of things that are put together called a galaxy, right? And we know that even in our own plane, there are multiple galaxies, right? What we live is just Milky Way, they say it's one of the tiniest galaxies. There's huge galaxies that are bigger than the Milky Way. So these 14 planetary systems, you can consider them as different planes. 14 different planes with huge number of planets, unlimited number of planets. And all these are encapsulated within the stem of this lotus, and on top of this stem is the flower, the lotus itself, on top of which Lord Brahma is there, and there is nobody around him. In such a gigantic creation, there is darkness and there is this waves that's being described, and he's looking around and it's all darkness and he can see nothing. That is the position of Lord Brahma, and then he wants to find out where this lotus stem comes from. And let's see what Brahma does. Can we go to the next text?
Lord Brahma, thus contemplating, entered the water through the channel of the stem of the lotus. But in spite of entering the stem and going nearer to the navel of Vishnu, he could not trace out the root.
Yeah. He went as close to the navel of Vishnu. You see the dimension of the stem that we just talked about. It's huge. He went all the way down, still couldn't find the root. Okay?
O Vidura, while searching in that way about his existence, Brahma reached his ultimate time, which is the eternal wheel in the hand of Vishnu, and which generates fear in the mind of the living entities, like the fear of death.
Yeah. He almost, I mean, think about how long it took for him. That's how long he's been. You cannot fault Brahma for endeavoring. Let's put it that way. He tried for a really long time to figure out what the source of this lotus stem was, but still he couldn't figure out. Okay? You have a question?
Yeah, I just had a small question.
Yeah. Do you want to take the mic?
Is the wheel in his hand referring to the chakra? Sudarshan chakra?
No. This is Kala Chakra. This is the wheel of time.
O Vidura.
Text 20, right? 21, sorry. We just read 20.
Thereafter, being unable to achieve the desired destination, he retired from such searching and came back again to the top of the lotus. Thus, controlling all objectives, he concentrated his mind on the Supreme Lord.
Yeah. Let's do the next text, and then we'll discuss a little bit about this. Text 22.
At the end of Brahma's 100 years, when his meditation was complete, he developed the required knowledge, and as a result he could see in his heart the Supreme within himself, whom he could not see before with the greatest handover.
Yeah. So this is the point, right? All of us have some inquisitive nature to figure out where we are, what are we doing here. And this is why humanity has been trying to do these explorations, right? We have even now, we have our mission to Mars. India just launched its mission to the moon, and it's going to the sun. We're trying to figure out where we came from, what is this universe that we are living in, what is this place. But the means that we're trying to do is like that of what Brahma tried to do. Right? By our own endeavor, we are trying to create these machines and cameras and so many different technologies by which we think we can figure out this material universe. And the lifetimes that we have is what, 100 years maximum. We don't have that now, probably 80 years. The average human life in the US is what, 84? Women live longer though. And within that, you what, actively inquire from when you're probably 13, 14, 15, and for 50 years you probably might do it. And we think we can find the answers to the universe. And how long was Brahma trying to do this? For a ridiculously long time he was trying to do this endeavor, but still he could not figure out where the root of this lotus stem was. What is the source of this creation? We try to brute force things. That is the problem, right? Krishna says in the Gita that he speaks about his material energy. Bhumi rapo nalo vayu khammano buddhirevacha ahankara mitiyamme bhinna prakritirashtrada. He says these 8 elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence and ego, comprise of my material energy. And the next verse he says, apareyamitasthvanyam prakritim viddhi me param jiva bhuta bahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. He says, okay, beyond this material energy, there is a superior energy, he says, aparayam. And who is the superior energy than beyond the material energy? Krishna is one. Who else? Jiva, the spirit soul. Us. All of us are superior than the material energy. Why? Okay. What is the material energy is also part and parcel of Krishna, no? We're not made of the internal energy, in the sense, internal energy is separate. We are the marginal energy. We are a separate energy of Krishna. The differentiating factor is we are conscious. We are, right? Whereas the material entities, material energy is not conscious. That's what differentiates us from the material energy of Krishna. That's why we are superior, right? This consciousness is what pushes us to ask these questions that Lord Brahma has been asking, and all of us have been asking as human beings. And yet, what are we trying to do? In the second part of the verse, aprayamitastvanyam prakritim viddhime param jiva bhuta mahabaho yedam dharite jagat. We have been trying to exploit this material energy. That's what we've been trying to do, Krishna says. This is the problem, right? All of us think that everything is here so that I can enjoy this. And from that perspective, we are trying to exploit this material nature. Why are we trying to go to Mars? So that I can colonize Mars, right? That is the mentality with which all these endeavors are taken up. And yet, we see that Mars will remain, we will not remain after 100 years. This is the power of Krishna's material energy. We've heard so many different kings, names of kings that we'll see, right? And they have all troubled Mother Earth so much. Janmashtami is going to come up. The Mother Earth, Bhumi Devi, goes and prays to Krishna that I'm burdened with these irreligious kings. Please protect me. Mother Earth is still there. All those irreligious kings who've tried to exploit Mother Earth are gone. And this is what will happen, because this is not just material energy. Krishna says this is a divine energy of mine, right? This material energy is not an ordinary energy, it's Krishna's energy. And just like everything, this material energy is to be used in Krishna's service. That is the proper use of everything. How we have to serve Krishna, all the energies have to serve Krishna. Similarly, material energy is a part of Krishna's energy. It has to be used in service of Krishna. And yet we're trying to manipulate this material energy, and then we think we can conquer it. And then we've seen practically innumerable times that the material energy always wins over us. It's very, very, very hard to overcome. But there is one way to overcome it, which is again demonstrated by Lord Brahma himself, by his own example, right? He tried to do it on his own. I am going to figure it out. I am a pioneer, right? This is the mentality that all of us have. And yet, Brahmaji was not able to do anything. He tried for a really long time, but his endeavors were all unsuccessful. And yet, when he switched his focus from doing it on his own to trying to depend on Krishna, and immediately he was able to understand everything. Do you know which verse that Prabhupada has given the maximum number of classes on? You might think it's something famous like 1866 or the important verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. Yes, correct. This is 7th chapter, text 1. That's the verse on which Prabhupada has given the maximum number of classes. Do you know how many? Any guesses? 700? Oh, that's a lot. No. 23 classes. Just on that one verse. Maya Shakta Manapartha Yogam Yunjam Madashraya Asamshayam Shamagramma Yatagnyasesi Tachrunu. This is the process. Why Krishna says this is the beginning of Bhakti Yoga, right? The middle 6 chapters of the Gita talk about Bhakti Yoga, devotional service. And what is the beginning of the process of devotional service? Hearing, Shravanam, right? Maya Shakta Manapartha Yogam Yunjam Madashraya Ashamshayam Shamagramma Yatagnyasesi Tachrunu. Please listen now, O Arjuna, Krishna says. And he says, when you're listening to what I say, there'll be nothing you will not know. Think about it. This is what Krishna is offering. After hearing what I'm about to say, Arjuna, you will know about everything that there is to know. By your own endeavor, try to know everything that there is to know. Who do you think the society respects as the most knowledgeable? Who do we all think about when we say, oh, these are the most knowledgeable of people in our society? Einstein, right? Who's? Scientists, what do you say? Teachers, yeah? So, scientists and these big people are whom we think are the most knowledgeable, right? And they probably have a PhD. They've studied for a really long time. And even when you take people with PhD, say Einstein, he was a physicist, do you think he knew everything he needed to know about physics? No, it's impossible, right? Even people with 2 PhDs in physics usually don't know what each one PhD knows from the other, because they're very narrowly focusing on one specific specialization. This is physics, right? You can think about all the different kinds of knowledge that we might have in this world. And the different types of ways in which we can acquire this knowledge is what? How many ways can we acquire knowledge in this world? If you... a lot? Okay, name a few. Research, right? You go and find it. You go to the library, you want to know about something, there are certain books that are written about it, you try to do it on your own. How else do we know it? You perceive it through your senses, right? For you to do the research, you need your senses, right? To read the book, you need the eyes. You come into this room to figure out how this room is, you try to use your senses. How else? Experiment. You know a certain set of things and you set up an experiment to figure out what else might happen, right? So these are different ways in which you can gain knowledge in this world. So in general, these are categorized as pratyaksha, anumana and shabda. Pratyaksha means you try to gain knowledge using your senses that you have. Yes?
Also, the reason that people don't know everything is that they're focusing on one specific thing. They normally don't look at it in connection with other things.
Yeah. Yeah, but even if we try to look at it, right, now that you know that, hey, you're looking at things without considering other things, you have this knowledge, do you think you can still know everything with this knowledge? Yeah, this is the problem, right? Even if you know this, it's very, very hard for us to know everything. So pratyaksha is senses, right? What is the problem with gaining knowledge through the senses?
They're imperfect.
Yeah, they're imperfect. It's like, I can't see properly without these glasses, you know? Even if I had a 20/20 vision, right? The problem is I can only see a very limited spectrum of light. The owls can see at night, I cannot see at night, right? So the senses are imperfect. You have dog whistles, right? The dogs can hear frequencies much higher than what the human ear can perceive. So senses are imperfect. So from that perspective, the knowledge that we gain, will it be perfect? It's not going to be perfect, okay? And with that, we set up experiments, right? So I've observed a few things with my imperfect senses, and I'm trying to speculate that if I set up certain experiments, it's going to result in something. So this is your experimentation and speculation. Your base is imperfect, and your speculation, therefore, is going to be imperfect, and then therefore, the results that you're going to obtain from those experiments are not going to be perfect also. Therefore, this is what Brahma tried to do, right? Through his own perception, through his own senses, he was trying to endeavor to figure things out. He was crawling to the end of the stem of the lotus, but still was very hard for him to find. But yet, when he started meditating on Krishna, Krishna appeared within his heart, and then he knew everything that he needed to know. Asamshayam shamagrama yata jnasesi tachrunu. Everything that you need to know, Arjuna, you will know, because I am telling you, hear from me. And we saw in the... Yes? So it's very powerful, the intuition, but it takes a while for us to figure out whether it's really our intuition or the mind. You know, like we just read a few verses before that Krishna expands as the super soul, right? Krishna is there within all of us, and there is this voice that Krishna is telling us, do this, do this, do this. But different people are at different stages, therefore the voice might be really weak or the voice might be really strong. But that's the idea, is that when we come to a point where we are in unison with Krishna in terms of his thoughts, then we can actually hear what Krishna is saying, just like how Lord Brahma was able to hear. This is what intuition is, right? What Krishna is saying from within. This is what intuition is. I remember this famous mathematician called Srinatha Ramanujam. He was a very, very famous mathematician. And he was a great devotee of the Lord. And every single mathematical equation he would get during his sleep. He would contemplate on it, worship Mahalakshmi, Sri Mahalakshmi. He was from the Sri Vaishnava tradition. And then he would go to sleep, and then suddenly he would wake up and write this equation. These were wild. People are now trying to solve these equations that he wrote 40, 50 years back. This is intuition, right? And he says, every single equation that I wrote came from Krishna himself. It was not me. And I know, I used to work in a research division in my company. And this is what I used to do. You start contemplating on things, and suddenly you start waking up at night, or when you're in the shower, you figure out, oh, there is this idea that comes up. But if you're really tuned to this, you can actually hear this intuition. But in the beginning, tell this intuition to your mentors and spiritual masters and see if it's the right thing to do. And then over time, you can figure out, as your connection with Krishna grows stronger, this intuition, you can trust your intuition. And we've seen this, that this Shravanam process, the first 9 verses of the chapter speak about this disciplic succession from whom we have to hear this knowledge, right? Tat Shrunu. Krishna was personally present there in front of Arjuna to say, deliver this knowledge. Right now, Krishna is not personally present. Therefore, for us to gain this knowledge, we have to go to a trusted source. And the source that we're reading from is Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the translator of the Srimad Bhagavatam that we're reading. We come in the disciplic succession of... This is an easy question. Yeah, Brahma. We come from Lord Brahma. The disciplic succession starts from Lord Brahma. Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya. That is our disciplic succession. And I think yesterday we were discussing about the acharyas, the Sampradaya acharyas. Sampradaya means tradition, lineage. And you can see in the Bhagavad Gita, at the end of the introduction, the prominent acharyas or the spiritual teachers of our disciplic succession. And when we are listening or going to those authorized sources, then we can see and experience what Lord Brahma is experiencing. We can actually see Krishna from within the heart. This is it. All of us will first get darshan of Krishna within our heart before we actually get darshan of Krishna personally, right in front of our eyes. This is, we'll see throughout the Bhagavatam. Dhruva Maharaj had this. Narada Muni had this, the first canto. First Krishna was... he saw darshan of Krishna from within his heart, and then he saw Krishna personally. So like that. And then you should read this, rest of this. So Brahma then sees Vishnu, and then Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, he blesses Lord Brahma. He obtains all the knowledge that is required for him to start his creation, secondary creation. That's how the chapter ends. So any questions or comments? Yes, bro. You want to take the mic? People online mic. Yeah, you just need to click the... Hmm.
Many places, like in Bhagavad Gita 8:17, like Sahasra Yuga Parintam Adyat Brahma.
Correct.
In that particular verse, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada also mentions Brahma lives for 311 trillion and 40 billion years. And then he says, by this calculation, he lives for 100 years.
Correct.
So I had also read, I don't recollect the reference, but when Brahma was perplexed and he was trying to understand who he is, he had already spent 50 years. So one senior devotee, in the Bhagavatam class, he had mentioned, right now Brahma is 51 years old.
Correct.
So how do you understand this?
Yeah, Prabhupada actually writes this in the purport for this text. He says exactly what you said, Sahasra Yuga Paryantam. He quotes that verse and then talks about how a millennium is 4,032,000 years and things like that. In that perspective, Prabhupada says it's 100 years of Brahma. That's how he says this. So not the entire 100 years of Brahma. That's how Prabhupada explains this in this purport. Correct. Correct. So the 100 years is the entire lifetime of Brahma in his time scale, which in our time scale is what you said, 3.11 trillion years, right? Among those 3.11 trillion years, he meditated for 100 years or something like that. Correct. I don't know. Because I'll read what Prabhupada says. The age of Brahma is calculated in terms of Divya years, which are distinct from the solar years of human beings. The Divya years are calculated in the Gita, which you quoted, right? Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Aryat Brahmano Vidhu. Brahma's one day is equal to 1000 times the aggregate of 4 yugas, calculated to be 4,300,000 years. On that basis, Brahma meditated for 100 years before he could understand the supreme cause of all causes. Even now, he didn't understand Krishna completely. Right? You will see, after many years of Brahma, he misunderstood Krishna. He really didn't know who Krishna was. So he didn't completely understand Krishna. That's the point. But he understood sufficiently to start going about his business of creation. Yes? Want to grab the mic?
That was just... because it seems to actually mean Brahma's 100 years means the duration of his life. Like in the Sanskrit it says Purusha Ayusha. So Ayur means your duration of life.
Correct.
And the person we're talking about, the Purusha here, is Brahma.
Correct.
So it seems like he meditated for his whole duration of life, which is his 100 years. Which makes you think that, then after his meditation he must have died, right? He must have left his body. So that reminded me of, there's another description of the Visarga, where Brahma is he's trying to create all
Correct.
the structures of the universe. And many situations happen during that time where Brahma experiences difficulties.
Correct.
And so each time he experienced difficulties, he changes his body. Remember that part?
Yes.
So when I was doing Bhakti by Baba, my teacher was saying that Lord Brahma, his body is not like ours. He doesn't have a body made of like earth, water,
Gross elements, yeah.
His body is made of intelligence.
Yeah.
So as soon as Brahma's consciousness changes, as soon as his intelligence develops sufficiently to the next level, it's like a change of body. So here, like, he had a certain state of consciousness before his meditation, then he meditated his whole 100 years, and then his intelligence developed to another state where now he could understand the Supreme, understand his situation, and it was like a new life for him.
While you were saying this, that's a very nice point, the one that you reminded about, where when Brahma is creating, he changes his body so many times. We could think of it that way. I was also thinking this is a lifelong endeavor, isn't it? This meditation on Krishna, it's not something that stops at some point. Probably it took him that long, but I'm speculating at this point. But this is what Prabhupada writes in the purport. He specifically talks about 4,300,000 years, and from that perspective, it's 100 years is what I understand from what Prabhupada is writing in the purport. Yeah. Usually, after 100 years of Lord Brahma's lifetime, that's what I've heard also, that he's liberated, and all these exalted souls go to Satyaloka, and then at the end of the entire material creation, they also are liberated like that. But one thing I want to finish off before is that Brahma had this time. Brahma had so much time, and he had this potency or his potential to meditate so deeply for so many years. And in the times that we live in, it's really impossible for us to do it. Therefore, the process for this time is chanting of the holy names of the Lord, right? Sankirtan Yajna. When we chant the holy names of the Lord, Prabhupada says 30 years, you focus and do it, and you'll be liberated, Prabhupada said. You'll go back home, back to Godhead. So that's the opportunity that we have, is that although this Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, it says, right? Srimad Bhagavatam says, Kaler dosha nide rajan. He says dosha nide, it's in unlimited faults. Astihi eko mahadguna. But there is one incredible quality, redeeming quality of the times that we live in. Kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangat param vraje. That just by chanting the names and glories and pastimes of Krishna, we can attain the same destination that Lord Brahma attained after many, many years of meditation. This is the opportunity that we have, and by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, all of us have access to this. Right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu freely distributed it, and Prabhupada freely distributed it. So this is our birthright. Nobody can stop us from performing devotional service. This is our birthright. All of us have access to this. So, any other questions or comments, or else I think we are at time. Okay, we'll stop here then. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।